Hey guys, it's Missy Wolf, and I'm here with Cassie Lynn Wells from Cassie's Kick-Ass Country.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm racing around Nashville scene. It's been fun, but it's been good. No traffic, so knock on wood on that one.
Right? I didn't have traffic today either, which is highly unusual for me down here.
Okay.
Right? I know. I'll knock on that wood too. All right. So I hear you're doing a podcast, and you've interviewed quite a few amazing people. So tell me how you got started and what you've been up to.
So I started this whole podcast thing trying to get into radio, and I just kind of on a whim was like, yeah, I'm going to do a couple episodes, and then my buddy William Michael Morgan was like, okay, well, I'll be your first guinea pig, so I hope that was a good interview. And then from there, it kind of just snowballed from seeing him chat live, just like getting new artists and new talent. Shout out to April Cry, who was my last guest. She's amazing, and her new single, While We're Young, just got released on CMT for like a video premiere, so that was really cool. I just released my episode with her, and then, you know, she's on CMT, so must be doing something right.
Right, absolutely. Now, and you've interviewed a lot of fun people, but William Michael Morgan, I have to tell you, when I first got to talk to him, and this was at the Randy Travis tribute show that they did at the Bridgestone Arena, that guy has the best manners ever. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so sweet. He was just so good to everybody. So you guys are good friends?
Yeah, he is like that all the time. Like, let me tell you, there's not a time when he doesn't switch off his manners. Right. His mama taught him well, because he's always sir, ma'am, very country folk. It just reminds me like a young George Strait, so that's what I love.
Absolutely. He stood out the most to me. That night, his manners were just amazing, and I was just like, oh my God, I want my little boy to grow up just like him. Like, it was so sweet. It was awesome. But I have to say, what an awesome thing for him to step up and be like, you know what, I'll do an interview with you, and I'll be your first. Absolutely, that's a great thing.
Yeah, he's a really gracious guy, and it doesn't matter if you have one follower or you have a million. He's gonna treat you the same way. And he just likes to get people started in their career, just like somebody gave him a chance. He's the same way. So I really enjoy that about him.
Absolutely. And I love that too about most of the artists that, you know, I know we've interviewed a lot of the same ones, which has been really fun for me to look. I'm like, I was looking at all your episodes. I was like, oh, she knows that person and that person. And oh my gosh. And so I was reading what you were writing, like about Elizabeth Lyons. And I had just released my interview with her a couple of days ago. And I absolutely felt the same way about her. She's so bubbly and so much fun. And it was great. So, but isn't it exciting to see these artists like stepping out and getting out there, and they're independent, and you're just helping them, and you know, they're so receptive to it, but they're just so real. Like everybody that I've been interviewing too is just, they're so real and so much fun and so just open and welcoming, and you know, I just think, you know, the world needs to see more of that. So kudos to you to actually doing the podcast. I think we need more people supporting independent artists.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the main one that stuck out to me, Elizabeth Lyons, absolutely. She's a doll to work with any day of the week. But Ashley Lissette, she went through such a tragedy in her life, because her dad had passed away when he was fighting overseas for our freedom. And being in the military myself, I just like it really kind of highlighted that for me, and we just had that bond. And for her to be that open about something so personal and having her songs like bleed through that tragedy is unreal. And it's very it gives light as like people, these country artists are real people, and they go through real things, and their life isn't glamorous like you may think. So that's what I really like about it.
Absolutely. And I love that too. And I think that, you know, it's in the Hollywood world, it's everywhere. You know, fans tend to put these celebrities on pedestals, and they think their lives are perfect, and they're not. And if you look back even at Luke Bryan, you know, he's gone through some major family tragedies, and he's stepped up and he's helped out, and he's done some amazing things that I don't think a lot of people even realize unless they dig deep and they research who he is. And so the fact that you're able to do these podcasts and bring those situations to light, and to get fans a little bit closer to the artist, for me, that's something that I absolutely love, is getting fans closer to their artist and connecting them a little bit more. What's your favorite part about doing your interviews?
I think my favorite part about these interviews is that you get them at a time when they are not doing radio tours, they're not doing hair and makeup, they're not putting on a show. They're just talking, like they're not on camera, they're not anything like that. They're just literally having a conversation with you, and you cut out some things that they may not want to say, but it gets you to like get them to be like their self with
Right.
like around their friends. So if they're like, oh, whoops, I shouldn't have said that. Like, you're like, okay, it's okay. Like, I can cut it out. But that's how real you get is
Yeah.
like they turn off their show stage and they kind of,
Right.
this is what this song is about and this is why I love it and this is the real me. And that's what I really enjoy.
Absolutely. I love that too. And, you know, we often tell people, you know, that the reason why we call our segments Conversations with Missy is because I hate cookie cutter interviews. And I was just talking about this with our journalist, Laura, who, you know, when you're standing on the red carpet, have you ever seen or watched a red carpet thing and everybody asks the same question down the line? And so it's like you got to get creative and think of different things. And that's just something that I've never wanted to do. I don't want to ask everybody the same damn thing. So so what is that one thing for you that you like to, you know?
I like to ask.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something that I hate that when I hear interviewers say is, tell me about yourself. Well, isn't that the point of the interview in the first place? Like,
Right.
Isn't that what I'm going to do for the next 20 minutes is tell you
Right.
about me? But the question that I love the most is, what's a song you wish you would have written?
Okay.
And what's the worst advice you've ever received? So a lot of
that's
artists,
a good one.
Yeah, a lot of artists get like, what's the best advice
Right.
anyone's ever gotten, you know, given to you or whatever. But when you ask them like, what's a piece of advice that you wish you would have never been told, and you may have followed her, you may not have, but
Right.
like it was like, what? But
Right.
I like that question a
Oh,
lot.
that's fun. I don't know that I have any of those types of questions myself. I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me is I really started thinking about, you know, I keep hearing these independent artists saying how much they love their heroes and how much it means to them when they've gotten to meet them. And so I flip it around on them and I'm like, well, have you ever thought about what it's going to be like for you when you're the hero and somebody's coming at you? What would you say to them? You know, and so that's been catching a few people off guard, I will say. Like some artists, they're like a deer in the headlights. I've never thought about that before. I don't know. I'm like, well, you need to think about it because your career's taking you to the top, you know?
Absolutely. I love that look when they're like a deer in the headlights. They like, or like, oh my gosh, like I literally don't know what to say to you right now. And I'm going to try to fumble through an answer, but like it's
Exactly.
not going to be a good one because I haven't had time to think about it at all.
And or when they're famous when they're, wow, that's a really good question. That means I am stalling because I don't know what to say.
Or wow, that's what they
Yeah.
do a lot too. They'll be
Yeah.
wow. Looking
I-
at their manager like, how should I answer this? But I'm
Yeah,
smiling at you. Yeah.
Exactly. I know those moments are so much fun for me, and it sounds like you have such a good time with your artists too. Have there been any artists that you've interviewed that you were like scared to death to interview? Because I have had those fangirl moments where I have admired somebody for so long and have been waiting for that interview, and then I'm granted that interview, and I'm like, okay, I didn't think I was going to get that interview. Now I don't know what to do. You know, have you had those moments yet?
Absolutely. I interviewed Bobby Bones when he was doing the City of Hope softball game for CMA Fest. And he is like my ultimate hero in radio. And I hope to be as successful as he is in country radio. And when I got to talk to him, he's just such a chill guy. And like, he's just so goofy that I, like, didn't know how to approach it. Like, it was when his book was taking off, and I was like, well, tell me about your book. And I was, like, such a newbie in the interview. So I was, like, it was probably my 5th or 6th interview, so I was not ready at all. Like, I had a little note card, like, Bobby, well, I don't know what to tell you, but your book, it's really good. And like, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I look back on it, and I'm like, thank God that was not on camera. Now this is, and I just repeated it. So
well, it's okay though, because I'll share you mine. Not this last CMA Fest, but the one before. Stupid me had a Hostess cupcake before an interview. Let's just say that interview did not go great. The poor girl I interviewed barely got a word in, and I was just so hyper crazy. I don't even know what the hell came over me. It was that damn sugar. I don't know what Hostess puts in their cupcakes.
No Hostess cupcakes.
Never before an
Zero.
interview ever again. But I didn't even want to watch that interview. Like
It's like
before
a
I
cringe
launched
moment.
it. Yeah,
It's like a,
yeah.
I'm not even going to talk about this again.
Yeah, no, and of course I talk about it just because it really was that moment that everybody, oh my gosh, it's like everybody has one of those moments, you know, that you wish you could take away. But for me, I'm like, okay, I just got to embrace it and own the fact that I did it and remind myself so that I never do it again. You know, I got to be accountable for that. But as far as memorable moments with any of your artists, are there any that stand out? Because I know that I have a few that really stand out to me. Like, there's been a couple of times where I've actually made an artist cry and I didn't mean to, but we just touched on a really emotional subject, and it was just such a beautiful moment in an interview that some of those are my absolute favorite moments. Do you have anything like that?
Well, I think when I went to college, I did not think that I wanted to be in the country music scene at all. I was a huge fan, but I was like, this is not going to pay. Like, there's no way I can actually make it as a career. And I was very scared. So I went to the ACM Awards as a volunteer in 2014.
Nice.
And I met Reba McEntire backstage. And she is like the queen bee of all queen bees. If anyone knows Reba, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think we might have a few people watching that know who she is.
Maybe a few fans, right? So I did this whole speech about how in 5th grade she was on my bucket list to meet her, and I was like a little fangirl, and I started like crying afterwards, and she's getting on the golf cart to leave, and I'm like crying because I didn't want her to see me cry. Aww. And I run into Blake Shelton. Smack. Run into him. And I'm like, why did this just happen to me? And he's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, could only muster up like, Reba. And that's all I could do. And I'm like, oh my God. But that was probably my most memorable moment because, yes, I cried over Reba.
That's
Who
really
doesn't?
sweet. And you know what? I bet you anything Blake actually remembers that, you know?
About me smacking right into him. That's great.
Well, it's better than tripping and almost making, Billy Ray Cyrus fall down at LAX.
Okay, I need to hear that story.
Yeah, Joey Buttafuoco was there too. I was in LA getting ready to fly to Hawaii with my kids, and I had to do something or go charge myself, and I forget what it was, and I started running across the aisle, and I tripped and fell and landed right in front of Billy Ray, and he just looked down at me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I felt so stupid. His whole entourage was there. It was a bad moment for Missy.
Do you find that though, is that a lot of people have an entourage? I feel like that is, what is with that?
You know what? When I was in California, that's what I saw. But being here in Nashville, I haven't seen it nearly as much as I did in Hollywood, which has been really fun because actually, I saw, Chris Young at I'm not going to say where I saw him because I don't want him to get bombarded, if that's his place that he likes to hang out at. But I was just at this one place one night, and he was there, and there wasn't like really anyone around, and I was like, well, I kind of want to say hi, but at the same time I don't, and I don't want him to think I'm a crazy stalker. But I just went over and said, hey, I just wanted to say hello and, whatever. And I didn't take a picture or anything with him because I just didn't want to bother him that way. But he was so approachable and so super sweet and super nice. And it was just a lot of fun. And then I got to see him like a couple of weeks later at the Randy Travis tribute show. And the people that I've met here are just so much more approachable and real. And I love that. Not that the people in Hollywood aren't real, but it's just harder to get to them.
It's harder to break that exterior. I feel like in Nashville, it's very easy to get to the core of who they are as an artist and why they sing the songs they do or write the songs that they write. I think that's the best part of all of this and about what we do and is finding that core center of who they are.
Absolutely. Now, do you find that it's kind of weird being on the opposite side of the interview right now?
It is, because I just asked you a question, so that's how it is. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm not used to talking as much, so I'm trying to talk. No, I'm a talker, but...
I'm not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. No, but... I keep waiting for that day, when somebody is like, I'm going to interview you or something. I don't know that I'll be able to do it without being all nervous and giddy. And, I did a radio.
Hostess cupcake girl, right there.
Yeah, I know, right? I did a co-host on a radio show once, and I was nervous as hell, and nobody could see me. And I'm sitting at home on my bedroom, floor with my computer and my little headset, and they were expecting me to actually co-host, and I froze. And so they'd have to...
You froze?
I did, because I didn't... It's like at a press conference. Have you done the press conferences yet? Okay, no. Girl. Okay. Let me just tell you. When you're at a press conference, if you're not aggressive, you're not going to get your answer to any of your questions because you're going to get trampled on. You got to just be aggressive. So I learned halfway through the press conference at the Randy Travis thing that I just had to just start shouting out. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get any of my stuff heard. And it was so out of my comfort zone. I can't even tell you.
It's like the White House. Like, you're like trying to ask a question and everyone's
Right.
like, well, we can't answer that. We can't answer that. Like,
Right. Or you're just shouting out and they're just overlooking you going to the next person. And I don't like that feeling. So I was just, the whole first half, I was just kind of sitting there all quiet and I didn't know what to do. And I was, so yeah, no, that kind of reporting is not for me. At all. And I just feel like I need to respect people and I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And it's just, so yeah.
That's why I like the red carpet. Like, you go from person to person to person. Right. And they probably all answer the same questions except for our stuff. But then they stroll on through and everyone gets a turn. And if they skip you, they skip you. But it's not the end of the world. It's You still get some great interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we just had one of our girls did the softball thing that you were at. And she was saying the same thing, she got to talk to a lot of people and she was trying to do the same thing as you, right? Ask the different questions because she was like, these artists get asked the same thing over and over. And she was, trying really hard to avoid that as well. So is that easy for you to do or no? Because I don't know that I could do that.
I try to, like, when they say certain things, I try to pick up on that. So, like, half the time when they're doing an interview, I am listening so intently that I'm not actually comprehending the sentences that they're forming, but I'm actually thinking of the next thing to ask because I try to piggyback off of different phrases that they say, and then afterwards I'll listen and I'll like learn a lot about them. But like during the interview, I'm so in tune to what they're saying that I'm not actually in tune to what they're saying, if that makes sense. So,
no, it does definitely, and it's just about concentrating and making sure you don't want to mess up, right? And we did, I think I did like 83 interviews. I think it was around 83 interviews during CMA Fest. And when it comes to writing the articles, I have to rewatch them all because I'm like, wait, am I confusing this artist with this artist? I listen to so many people say so many different things. So I think it is important while you're doing it to just focus on what you're doing and then go back and listen and then really learn from it. So I love that you said that because I
think that's the main thing. And, like, I think the most memorable interviews and the one that I was actually, like, kind of stunned by is I just interviewed Courtney Cole, and that episode will be out soon. But she talked about her documentary and what a huge success it's been shooting these videos and trying to get her music out there in a different avenue because she can't afford to actually have it mixed and mastered and sent out on an album. But she's like having a hard time. She's driving for Uber because she can't make ends meet as an artist, and people don't understand. They don't want to pay for money. They don't want to pay for albums or songs or anything like that. But yet they still want these artists to make music, and I'm like, this is perfect because this shows that these artists are struggling so much trying to make ends meet, and they still, at the end of the day, do music. And I think that's so powerful.
Absolutely. And that's something that definitely gets overlooked. When you're here in Nashville, a lot of the Nashville people here, they get it. They know it because they have friends that are musicians. But in every other part of the world, right, every other state, every other city, they don't really take into consideration what these artists go through to get their music to everybody. Absolutely. And that, this music industry is brutal. It's tough. It's hard. You have to have a thick skin. I don't have a thick skin. And oh my gosh, if I get a negative comment on one of my interviews, I know I'm just going to want to crawl into a hole, because I'm not that person. I don't have a thick skin. And these artists, man, they do it all the time. And not everybody sticks it out, but those that do, man, I got to give them credit and give them props because it is a tough industry to get into.
And it's a hard industry to stay. So Courtney was opening up for people like Miranda Lambert and, super big people. Like, she just opened up for Easton Corbin, and yet she still can't make ends meet. And I think one song that she has that's really powerful that is out that you can buy is For the Love of Me. And it's a song that just actually goes through how she doesn't care what kind of money she makes or what she goes through. She's still going to do all this because it's for the love of her. It's what she does to make herself happy.
Absolutely. And that's why, people like you, doing the podcasts and helping to promote them and be a platform for these independent artists. It's huge. It's huge. And I don't think enough people are doing it. And that's also kind of a cool thing though, right? Cool for you that, you have a unique, in with these artists already, and that's what we hear at Center Stage Magazine. We're doing the same thing. We see that there's way more talent out there than what you hear on the radio, and people need that. They're craving it. They want more music all the time, so it's a great way to give it to them.
And I love Center Stage has been the same way, as I've been a longtime fan and follower of y'all, so I do appreciate what you guys do, because I mean, if it wasn't for the on-camera interviews and the transcribed, like, people will interview and write it all out. That's what CM Chat does, is we interview people and then we literally type it all out. So all those different formats of interviewing artists give us new ideas about different questions that they may have not been asked, and different avenues to promote the same artist. Like, we could interview the same artist 50 times, but we're giving them different avenues in press.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think is important.
And it's so good for the artist too, because they get to showcase different sides of their personalities with the person they're connecting with.
Yeah.
And that is huge, because when you go on a radio tour, I've heard so many artists say when they go on a radio tour, it's expected that the same questions are going to be asked because they're promoting their music. But they all, after a while, they're just like, oh my God, it's like it's script. Right? I mean, it's just like they're reading a script. It's the same thing over and over and over. So
tell us about your new single that we're about to play in 2 seconds.
What inspired you to write this song?
If you didn't write it, who did you get it from and why?
Right. Did you have any co-writers? And, absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about them.
Exactly. And so we've heard it all, before. So I think it's really fun when you get to connect with somebody on a real level and in a different way. And going back to Clark Hill, I know you and I were talking about him a little bit ago. The way he and I started our interview was so hysterical. It was just so funny. And I tried to keep it a mystery, Clark, but you ratted me out on Facebook. No, but it was just those real moments, those fun moments, they can't be just duplicated, like that.
And they can't be scripted. I think that everyone assumes that when we interview people, we have a script. Like, I never have my questions written out. I never know what I'm going to say, and I never know where it's going to go.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it fun, because it's not scripted, and they're being real, and we're being real.
Absolutely. So I got to say, is there anything that you do that is something that I do? Is there anything that you do that you shouldn't do before an interview? Like, for me, I'm just going to say there's some times where I've just gone and done an interview, and I'm like, okay, who's this person again? I don't know. I'm not paying attention to the schedule, and I haven't done any research, and I'm able to pull it off. Like, and that's my biggest secret. And I know I just let the cat out of the bag, and it doesn't happen all the time, but there have been those moments. Have you had anything like that? Like, what's your biggest secret that you've
absolutely.
done with
interviews? My biggest secret is probably I'll listen to one song and I'll be like, this person is great, so good. And then I'll do some research and I'll learn about them, and then I'll buy the rest of their album because I love their first song that I listened to. And the rest of it, I'm like, I do not believe in this artist. And that's what sucks, is like, you think you do, and I won't interview people I don't believe in. And I learned my lesson pretty quick after listening to one song and then being like, oh, this guy's great. And then you're like, no, they're not. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest secret.
Yeah. And I don't know, for us, we won't post anything negative, and I'm sure that's the same thing with you. Yeah. So that's why there's just certain things you can't do. And does it break your heart, though, at the same time? Because for me, I don't ever want to hurt anybody's feelings. And there have been a couple of times where people have approached and they've wanted to do something, and it's like, I just can't. I don't want to put this out there. You're not ready, and I actually had to tell somebody not too long ago that, it would be really, really great if they got more control of their voice and they did this and that, and they have a beautiful voice, they have a ton of talent, but they just don't have the control, and I can put them in touch with someone. And that, my heart was racing when I told this artist that, and but at the same time, she's amazing. She's so good, and I didn't want her to take it the wrong way at all. But have you had those moments too?
Absolutely. When somebody dreams about something so big, and it's such a crazy dream, and you want them to succeed so bad, and you want them to be good, and it's always the people that deserve it the most that you're always like, but you don't have it. And it's really hard to say that. But when I don't believe in an artist's voice or anything like that, and like I said, I learned my lesson, I just tell them straight up, like, I don't think your music fits what I'm looking for. And I will just kind of say a generic thing like that. And it breaks my heart because if I wasn't good at what I was doing, then I'd want somebody to tell me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so that's my way of telling them. So if I've said that to you before, that's kind of what I mean. I mean, sorry, but like,
yeah, it's not a disrespectful thing. It's just it's an honesty thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, this is so sideways right now. I'm so sorry, but it's like when you see that girl wearing an outfit that's like 10 sizes too small.
Yes.
She has friends, but none of them want to be honest with her, and that's not fair. And you guys aren't being good friends. So
You're a good friend.
You know, so that's what this is. It's about being a good friend to an artist and about letting them know, hey, you're great, you have talent, but you're just not there yet.
You're not there, or you being like any sort of production side. If you know music, but like sometimes you don't have it, and like it's so heartbreaking because 90% of the time it's those people that really deserve it. Absolutely. So I hope you find your path, but like again, this industry is brutal, and
it is.
I try to be as nice as possible.
See, we're the nice ones. We're not going to just give you a flat no. No, that's not what we do.
We'll sugarcoat it a little bit, but
we'll
get to the point.
We'll be honest in a very nice, loving way. I promise. But is there anything else you want to tell everybody before we go? Because I feel like we haven't talked about your show enough. I've just been kind of getting to know you.
Yeah,
but I like getting to know you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can listen every Tuesday morning. A show will be live. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, literally anywhere you get your podcasts. It's on there. You can follow me on every social media platform if you just search Cassie Lynn Wells. Or my podcast, Cassie's Kick-Ass Country.
I love that name.
My dad came up with it, so...
See, that's awesome. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks,
what a good
Dad.
job.
I appreciate you. So, yeah, just follow me. Obviously, you better follow Center Stage because they're amazing. So, yeah, that's pretty much... I mean, they're 15-minute episodes, so you have 15 minutes throughout the day to listen. So.
Absolutely. And guaranteed you're going to have some great stuff to come out with. You know what I mean? That's just information that you never knew you were going to hear. Laughs that you didn't expect to have. I mean, you could go anywhere, right? The sky's the limit, basically.
Well, when I do 5 songs at the end of each episode, I have 5 songs that I can't get out of my head. Yeah, so I will highlight 5 songs that you probably haven't heard of, and maybe 1 or 2 you have, but Ashley McBryde is like my new favorite person in the world right now, so I do a lot of Ashley McBryde. I do a lot of Courtney Cole, and I highlight a lot of females, so that's kind of what we need in Nashville right now is female. So Female Friday, download a Female Friday, so listen to all that, and you'll have some fun, I promise.
Well, you heard her. Check her out, and stay tuned for more, guys. Until next time. See ya.